Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Talking Cars. I'm your host, Steve Ottley. I'm also the editor-at-large for TalkCafe.com, and I'm joined again this week by my old friend and fellow long-time motoring journalist, Scott Newman. To quote Jerry Seinfeld, hello, Newman.
G'day, Ottley. That's not quoting Seinfeld.
Is there not a character named Ottley in Seinfeld? That's weird. I thought there
should be.
Well, thanks for joining me, Scott. For those who are unfamiliar with our podcast format, because we are still very new, but thanks for listening. The plan each week is Scott and I will pick an automotive-related topic and create our own personal top 5 lists, which we will then debate. But before we get into that, we do want to talk about what has been making news on TalkCafe.com. Now, one of the topics that myself and my Talk Cafe colleague Jordan Mollock have been reporting on lately, and that is the decision for some brands to backtrack on their publicly announced commitments to go either all electric or predominantly electric very soon. Most notable in this regard is Porsche, which is having to tear up its plans to invest billions in more new internal combustion and hybrid-powered models. But Porsche is by no means alone. We've seen Audi, Mercedes, and several other big-name brands all start to, I think, rethink what the reality of the current market is. Certainly, we've seen huge changes with, say, Ram trucks in America. So there's a lot of brands that I think were maybe got a little bit too excited, shall we say, Scott, about going electric so soon.
Yeah, I think so. There's a few parts of this, though, that I have some sympathy with the manufacturers, right? Because when the EU first came out, they said, we're going to, the original ban was 2030, for instance. So they had to act really fast, and maybe that's on them for not lobbying hard enough or talking to politicians. But equally, the politicians made a set of regulations that were never going to work, ever going to work. They didn't consult anybody. They clearly didn't consult anybody. So I have some sympathy for the manufacturers because they suddenly were up against the wall and said, you need to get rid of all your engines by 2030. And they went, oh, okay. And yes, some of them wanted to be seen as good corporate citizens and said, yes, we're going to help save the planet and go all EV. And then, like you say, especially the premium manufacturers went out there and discovered that there were no customers for these EVs. And to a large extent, especially in the premium, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, Bentley, they've all wound it back. But certainly Mercedes and Porsche and have had to tear up a lot of money and a lot of plans. So there's two sides to it. Yes, the regulations were stupid, and now they look silly because the regulations have been pushed out as they needed to be, and pushed out again, and they'll probably be pushed out again. But equally, you look at the likes of, I just did a story recently about BMW that did have a more pragmatic approach and continued offering everything. In some ways, crazy amounts. The new X5 is going to have 5 different powertrains. But they have reaped the rewards because they didn't go all in, and now their sales are actually pretty healthy. And ironically, they're selling a lot of EVs. So they took a more pragmatic approach, but it's rewarded them. But yeah, I mean, the bloodbath, for want of a better term, isn't over yet because there's still so much up in the air around the regulations and what people actually want and how they can make these cars affordable. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's in a tricky. I certainly don't envy the manufacturers in the sense that you've got regulators saying you must do this, and the customer saying we would like the opposite, please.
Yes.
The analogy I always use is sort of the government. Governments and whatnot want you to eat healthier. Because we don't want to have heart disease and clog up our hospitals or whatever. But, if McDonald's starts only serving salads, McDonald's is not going to be as popular as it was, right? You don't go to McDonald's to buy a salad, right? And so we're sort of between a rock and a hard place. Again, personally, I do think we should be trying to make some sort of forward progress on making the world a better place, like reducing emissions if we can. There's no doubt that, internal combustion cars produce emissions, and we should be looking to cut those somehow. Personally, I like driving electric cars. I like the quietness, the effortlessness, and in some cases just the sheer performance. I recently drove the Audi RS e-tron GT performance, and oh my goodness, it's part Porsche, part Lamborghini in places. It's got all that carbon from Lamborghini.
Oh yeah.
It's absolutely stonking. It's absolutely fantastic. It's quiet and relaxed to drive, and yet it just launches like a rocket ship. And so there's certainly, I see a lot of plus points for electric cars, but you can't force it down people's throats. You can't artificially accelerate the market towards a technology that people don't really want or aren't ready for, or frankly, in most cases, it's just too expensive. It's still not affordable enough for a lot of people. And we've seen that recently. Hyundai recently announced savings of over $30,000 on some electric models. That's crazy, and they're still expensive. So. Yep. I don't really know what the clear answer is, but I do think for car companies, there's some car companies are in a bit of strife in terms of trying to meet the differing demands of regulators and customers.
Yeah, the Porsche one is especially interesting, and I haven't driven the new electric Macan yet, but it's like customers have essentially rejected that car. They certainly hasn't sold anywhere near in the volumes it needed to, or the old one did. But it's kind of weird because, if it's anything like the Taycan drives really, really nicely. The Taycan is a great car. And if having an electric Macan means we can have petrol-powered GT3s and 911 turbos for another 10, 15, 20 years, then hey, even as a Porsche fan or a Porsche customer, that's fine. I love a Macan Turbo because, like you, for everyday driving, for driving around, EVs are great.
Yeah.
But I still want, for the racetrack or something like that, I do want something petrol-powered with gears and whatnot. The big thing for this, though, that is the big turning point, we have to solve the synthetic fuels thing, right? Because there's tens of millions of petrol cars and diesel cars that are going to exist for another 10, 20, 30 years. It doesn't make ecological sense to crush them into balls and buy new cars necessarily. Yeah. And then that's the manufacturer's argument. If we can solve that, then why can't we just keep selling ICE cars? Because they're,
Well, yeah, in theory...
That's a bigger topic, but that's kind of...
It is a bigger topic, but it's a great point. The discussions I've had with brands like Porsche that have invested heavily in synthetic fuel is they don't actually require any modification. So, in theory, every existing car becomes... carbon neutral effectively. You still are producing emissions at one stage of the process, but you are then capturing them later on. And so, yeah, in theory, it's great. I've got an old Alfa Romeo from the 80s. It'd be fantastic if I could, that's not going to go electric. I can't make that electric. And okay, yes, it's somehow managed to last 40 years without rusting, into pieces anyway. But, it'd be great if you could make that carbon neutral. It'd be great if you could make any car you see on the street carbon neutral by doing that. I think there is still a bit of a ways to go on that technology.
Yes, definitely.
I think it's telling that the brands most heavily invested in synthetic fuel are Porsche, Lamborghini, Formula One's talking about it. So I do think that sort of speaks to what they're trying to achieve. But I also think, look, it's great. I think, yeah, that is an option because clearly the world has kind of spoken. I think there was a rush a few years ago, particularly in the Australian market. There was this surge of electric vehicle sales. And a lot of that was because Tesla started reporting their vehicle sales publicly for the first time, but after being in the market for the better part of a decade. So we didn't have the slow uptick. It was just like Tesla posts record month, Tesla posts another record month, Tesla's selling a huge record month. It was because they would have had tiny sales for the first, 6-7 years, selling Model S, Model X for huge money, and then all of a sudden they brought in volume models. And I think everyone kind of got a little bit caught up in it. And it happened in other markets as well. Obviously, what happens in Australia does not impact, Porsche's global plans or Audi or Mercedes global plans. But I think everyone got a little bit too excited too soon, and now they're sort of having to bear the consequences of that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we go. But I'm not sure.
It's not going to be the last time we talk about it, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So it'll be interesting to see. But anyway, you can keep up to date with all the latest news and reviews, if that's your thing, on talkcafe.com. All right, but moving on to our main topic for this week, and that is the top 5 hot hatches on sale today. So hot hatches have been a staple of performance car fans on a budget, but that is changing. They are slowly disappearing, but they're also getting more expensive, to be blunt. But there are still some really cool cars to choose from. So hopefully we've got some pretty interesting lists here to compare. So, Scott, start us off. What is your number 5 choice for the hot hatches left standing?
So before I get into number 5, just a quick... We're actually doing okay in Australia. We've still got a lot of options. A lot of these options in Europe have disappeared. A lot of these options don't exist in the US. So we're going okay. But if you want that to stay the case, go out and buy them. I know it's harder because they're all expensive. And I just do want to shout out one, the Ford Focus and Fiesta ST, the dearly departed. They're not on the list because they're no longer on sale. I think everyone loved them. The Focus ST, everyone loved the Fiesta ST, but the Focus ST was such a good car. It was cheap. It was as fast as anything in the segment. It was great to drive, and no one bought it. And it was just so confusing. Before I get into my list, I'll mention that I haven't actually driven the new Mark 8.5 GDI or R. But I've driven the Mark 8s.
Neither have I. Yes.
I've driven the Mark 8s, though, and they haven't changed a massive amount, so that's still okay. But I just wanted to make that clear for transparency. And I haven't driven the Cooper Leon VZX either. But anyway, we can do another 5 later on. So number 5 for me is the Hyundai i20N, which I really wanted to put on there because...
Yeah.
Your reaction says it might be your number 5 as well.
It is also, so just to be clear, that is also my number 5. So I guess we can discuss it at the same time. Yeah.
I wanted to put it on there because it's really the only one with a half decent price tag left. It's not as cheap as it was, but it's 40 grand drive away probably. An awesome car. The latest one for me isn't as good because it's got the ADAS system. The facelift gets the ADAS, so you got to press all the buttons before you take it for a drive. But that's kind of Hyundai's fault and kind of isn't because it's regulated now. Awesome on track, awesome on road. For me, its only real failing is I'd like a slightly perkier engine. It's sort of got more chassis than engine, that car, but it's still pretty quick. You can lap it all day on a racetrack, have heaps of fun. It's awesome on road, so that's my number 5.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I honestly, I chose it for probably similar reasons, and frankly, have similar things to say about it, which is probably not as exciting for the listeners. But it does, like you say, it is one of the most affordable ones. I mean, it's ironic now. It now costs about the same as what the i30N cost when it first arrived. Like the hot hatch market is one of we've talked about it. Even talking about electric cars being expensive, hot hatches have increased so significly in the last 10 years. I think I looked at it a few years ago and it was something like in the over a 5-year span, some of these cars went up more than 25%. 25%, I think, turned out to be one of sort of the lower end increases. Like some of them are just out of control expensive.
So in their defense, if you go back and look at, it's funny, that is the case, but it's because we've had it good for a really long time and cars got a lot cheaper over time for a really long time. For instance, if you go back and look at the hot hatch prices of, say, early 2000s, late 90s, and actually adjusted them, they're probably about right or even more expensive. So we got spoiled, I think, a little while. But I mean, but you're right. Like you could get a Mark 7 Golf GDI original for $39,990. a Golf GTI original.
Yeah.
So,
and like the i20N came in against cars like the Fiesta ST and like the Volkswagen Polo GTI. Those were sub $30,000 cars.
Yep.
They were, and that's kind of the point. And it's interesting. I guess we'll dive into it deeper as we get into the lists. But for me, part of the problem with some of these cars is they are just so expensive, and that kind of, in some respects, defeats the purpose of a hot hatch. Yes. A hot hatch is supposed to be affordable performance. It's not supposed to be a full-on performance car. It's supposed to be an everyday run-around hatchback that you can have some fun with, or it is fun, but it still has the practical elements that you want from a hatchback. So, I think the i20 certainly encapsulates that. It's like you say, the engine could be better. It's just a little 1.6, but it's
probably closest it's probably closest to the ethos that you just described.
Yeah,
it's a hatch. Whereas part of the reason they've got so expensive is that some of them have become so serious as performance cars, which is great.
Yeah.
But I think there's probably a gap for something that doesn't do 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. Maybe it's 7 seconds. For instance, I saw the other day that Cupra is doing a run out on the Leon V, right? It's the base level Leon. So it's got like 140 kilowatts, I think, something like that. Not terrible. It's sporty-ish, but it's 36 grand drive away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a car that's not super fast, but it handles well. It's sporty-ish. Cheap price tag. That's maybe more where we could go. But we're starting on a sour note, so we should really get into it.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, though, I think you probably make a good point that the i20N is in some ways like a classic hot hatch in that it's a bit of a parts bin special, right? Like they borrow the 1.6 turbo engine from something else, and they're able to take the bits and bobs to make it work. In a market where you really, it's hard to justify having a hot hatch. Like they're not probably the most sensible business cases to build these days. So yeah. But yeah, let's move on. Let's get to your number 4. What have you got?
So in number 4, I have the Toyota GR Corolla GTS.
Okay. All right. Number 4. Interesting.
I really like this car. I can pick holes in it. I like it more than the Yaris. The Yaris is lighter. I haven't driven the updated Yaris with the lower seating position, which I'd like to, or the Auto. The Auto I can probably take or leave. But for me, the GR Corolla just took everything that was great about the Yaris, that amazing engine. And yes, it's not as fast because it's bigger and heavier, but it was just such a more usable car. You sat in it and you had actually had a decent driving position. You had a boot that could actually fit more than, like a takeaway container in it. You could see out of the thing. And it's one of those cars that you can just absolutely drive. It's the feedback and communication it gives, and it's just set up. You can drive it on its door handles with sort of no fear or anything like that, which I think is another point, another key aspect of a hot hatch is approachability. So a car you can get in, go quickly in all weathers, all scenarios, and have a heaps of fun. And for me, the GR Corolla is kind of like the spiritual successor kind of the Evos and WRX STIs that we had growing up.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that's all true. I mean, I would have it on my list. I certainly probably, if I'm honest, I probably prefer it over the Yaris, but for reasons that will become clear later, I've got the Yaris on the list. But I think in some ways, yeah, you're right. The other thing I think it's important to note about these cars is, like, take your time, Toyota, but they have like eventually arrived in the hot hatch space. Frankly, long overdue. But they've done it. They haven't half-assed it. They have built a really, really awesome pair of cars. Like they are fantastic. So, like, kudos to Toyota for
that engine is a marvel.
Getting involved.
Just incredible.
Just fantastic. I mean, that's the thing. You talk about the 1.6 in the Hyundai and go, well, it's not the best engine. I mean, that's a 1.6 with a cylinder less. So. Yeah, amazing car, and I like I say, I sort of personally I prefer the the bigger size, the bigger footprint of the Corolla. But yeah, like yes, as well, I'll save a bit, keep a powder dry for later when I talk about the Yaris. My number 4, something a bit different, and I guess sort of driving directly into the headwind of the questions around pricing. I've got the Audi RS3. I mean, I'm a sucker for that 5-cylinder engine. I think Audi, it's an Audi trademark. It's fantastic that it still survives. It is probably everything we were talking about before, where it's nearly 300 kilowatts of power. It's got 500 meters of torque. It can drift. It can, do all this crazy stuff. It is a phenomenal car to drive. Like on a track, it's amazing, but it's great on the road. One of the fastest cars in the set. They made a whole point of making sure they beat the AMG A45 at 0 to 100. But it's got a 6-figure price tag. It is not it is technically speaking a hot hatch, but I would probably refer to it more as a small performance car rather than a pure hot hatch, because I think, to me, a hot hatch is kind of an affordable, it has the same level of affordability, but I just can't go past it because it is, so cool. It's got, it's just a bit special, it's sort of the ultimate iteration of a hot hatch. It's really, you spinal tap it and turn the whole thing up. You turn everything up to 11 and that's what you get, So yep. I think kudos to Audi for keeping the 5-cylinder and making something special with it in the RS3.
Yeah, so the RS3 appears later on my list as well, so we might as well cover it off now.
Okay.
And I had one slot for one of these super hatches, all right? A45 or RS3. If I was doing my personal best, I'd probably have them both on there because I think they're both awesome. And splitting between them, there's a degree of, one way or the other, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But I think the Audi's got a more characterful engine. I think it's got a better interior, and it's cheaper. Yes. We say expensive, but the A45 is 123 grand before options and on-road. For a hot hatch.
For a hatchback. That is crazy. It's crazy money. But
and the weird thing is that, some have had price creep over generations. The same cars have had massive price creep. Like when it came out, I think the RS3 was 92 or something like that. So it's a lot more expensive than it was. But like you, that car is one of the front runners, if we ever do another list, for most improved generation to generation. Like the last one was fun, made good noise and stuff like that, but it still had that Haldex system and you kind of like, oh yeah, it's good up to a point. Yeah. Wasn't that great on a track. Whereas the new one came in and you're like, holy moly, this thing is unbelievable. It's so good. Yeah. It's like I say, it's everything turned up and it's so outrageous that it's undeniable. It's almost like a baby Lamborghini or something with the noise it makes and the speed it's got, and then you can get it in bright greens and all sorts of straight crazy colors. Like, that's probably a good way to sort of sum it up. It is like a little, it's got half of a V10, so it's I just think it's a cool car. So anyway, that's my number 4. What have you got at number 3? I've got the Civic Type R at number 3. Okay. Well, spoiler alert, that's number 2 on my list. So, so I think neither of us ended up with it number 1, so that's interesting because it is, it's interesting. I should actually go back. You could put it number 1 or I could leave it completely off the list. And I was edging towards the latter. But I had to actually go right back and read a comparison test I did and remind myself, and I need to drive it again because I need to remind myself of how good it is. Because in my head, coming away from that test, I've only got the bad bits, and I drove it in the dry, which reminded me, and it was unbelievable. It's the best front-wheel drive car I've ever driven in terms of the feedback. It is like a baby Porsche GT3. The feedback it gives, the steering weight, the grip, it feels so light, especially these days. Yeah. But then the next day I drove it in the wet, and it was such a handful just because it's got so much power that every gear is just torque steer and wheel spin. And I'd actually drove it on track as well at Sandown. And the thing that I think the car's lost over its predecessor is if you stick it in R+ mode, it's so stiff now. Like it was going to jump off the road. at Sandown. I'm sure at the Bend or Phillip Island, it's magic. It would probably be the best thing going around. But if you have a bumpy road or a bumpy racetrack, the thing is so stiff now that it does lose something, I think, compared to its predecessor, which nobody liked because it looked really ugly. And we all thought it was super expensive at 51 grand. Now it looks like a bargain because the new one's 80.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Like, I mean, to be fair, the last one did look terrible.
It did.
Looked like
you needed to dry it in black.
Yeah, it looked like you said looked like the designer brought their 15-year-old kid into the studio and said, you can draw something, and they drew something with a wing on every element, and It had more wings than a KFC. Like, it was ridiculous. Someone, I believe our colleague, I credit where credit is due, I believe this is a David Morley comment where he said it looked like someone drove it through a super cheap auto and everything got stuck to it. Like, it was over the top, but it was fantastic to drive. And I agree, like, the new one, like I say, I have it at number 2 on my list because I do think like you say, in the right circumstances, okay, obviously in the wet it's not great, but on a dry road or a particular, like say on a track especially, it is epic. Like, it is so good.
Its highs are so high.
Yeah, I mean, it's no doubt. But... and obviously, I think the new one looks really good. I think they've really nailed the design. I think the Civic in general is a good-looking car.
Especially that new blue. Looks good.
Yeah, but they just went understated. They gave it, sort of the anti-type R. Like, they basically went the complete opposite direction in terms of design for this one compared to the old one. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to get past the price. Like, I mean, you're talking,
and it's interesting...
80 plus on road, it's just nuts.
It's interesting what you were talking about, like the evolution of the hot hatch. The excuses we're making for the Civic Type R are very similar to what you'd make for like a 911 GT3. Okay, it doesn't work in the wet, doesn't really work on a bumpy road, but oh, geez, it's good on track.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but these are meant to be sort of everyday cars. And to be fair, the Civic does work every day. Like, in comfort, it still rides well, it's still very easy to drive. Only a 4-seater, but not too bad. It's got a big boot, so it does still work, but they are getting a bit more compromised, perhaps. Yeah,
and I think that's for me, that's why it ended up at number 2 on my list, because I think it does compromise maybe too much in that everyday capacity. Like, it is like if you have a bandwidth of your sliding scale of performance versus practicality, it's very much tipped towards performance.
Yeah.
And the practicality gets a little bit left by the wayside, shall we say.
Gotta have that Nürburgring record.
Yeah. Well, which is a neat segue. Again, I've neatly segued myself here into my number 3, which is the Toyota GR Yaris. Now, I was very tempted to put the Corolla here because, like I say, to be perfectly frank, I probably do prefer it. If I was going to go out and buy it, I would probably buy a Corolla personally. But I do see the appeal of the Yaris, and I think what really tips it in my opinion is for this list is I kind of figured you might choose the Corolla, but the fact that it what it meant for Toyota. Like, the Corolla is a pumped out special Corolla. Mm-hmm. The Yaris is a homologation special.
It's got the carbon roof that the Corolla doesn't have and all that sort of stuff.
It's a 3-door. It looks nothing like, it does not look, there's no other Yaris that looks like it except for the ones that, the blokes in the WRC are driving. Like, that's what it's built for. It's built for the WRC. And I think, to me, it's so cool in this day and age that a brand like Toyota, of all brands, like, it's not, you kind of expect it of a Ford, or a Subaru or something, but Toyota's just gone, no, we're going to build a rally car. And someone like Akio or someone has just said, no, do a 3-door with a carbon roof, a 3-cylinder turbo engine, all-wheel drive. It's like, do we need to? It's like, nah, do it. Like, I just want it. And it's like, it spearheads that GR so well, like, in terms of the GR brand, and it says, to me, it kind of says everything about GR. Like, that Toyota means business. They're not mucking around. Like I say, I do think, like we're talking about with the Civic, enormously compromised in terms of its usability. Yep. Like, it is way too small to be practical. It's a single person's car, even a couple that don't have much stuff to carry.
That's the thing. If you fold the rear seats down, it does become like a cool little van. It actually
Yeah.
looks all right.
Yeah, so that like to me like that. Yeah, it kind of ticks those boxes, and it just makes it feel a little bit more special.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was lucky. I went on the international launch of that car. I went on the local launch of the regular one. I went on the local launch. No, I went on the local launch. Went on the international launch, and then I went on the local launch of the rally. And that's the thing. If you're ever going to buy one, buy the rally. It is so much better than the regular one.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Like the regular one shouldn't exist.
I should have said that. Yes, the Yaris Rally, because frankly, I think
Which I think is now called the GTS.
Yeah, my least favorite cars is the standard car without the center diff and with the Dunlop tires. So I mean, to be blunt, again, I was umming and ahhing with Corolla, but like I said, I sort of tipped it in the Yaris because of its significance. But I mean, one of the least enjoyable hot hatch drives I've ever had was a standard GR Yaris in the rain with those Dunlop tires that just it just wanted to understeer in every corner. Like it had no front grip and it was sort of snap into rear. It was, So again, it's got a little bit of that, Like the first thing I would do is put a better set of tires on it, a set of Michelin Pilot Sports or something, because just to fix that,
I mean, it's like the old thing. Like if you're going to modify the hell out of it, you might as well buy the base one, because then you can go to Cusco or whatever and order the diffs, order the different ratios, change all the suspension, put semi-slicks on it. You might as well save yourself some money, especially the people who bought one for whatever it was, $39,000 or something like that. Okay.
How good does that look in hindsight?
I was looking now, and like a GTS Yaris is 58 or something like that. And that's
Just
cheap compared
crazy,
to the UK.
man.
I think a GR Yaris rally in the UK is like nudging £50,000.
Jeepers. It's just crazy. It's crazy money.
So, but yeah, like you're right. And another thing it's kind of like the new Subaru, you get a GR Rally on dirt and it's just like, oh yeah. It's like a clicks. You're like, oh yeah, this is what this thing was made for. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Proper little rally car.
Yeah, it's great. So it's fun, and like I say, it just says a lot about Toyota and where the brand is at with Gazoo and all that sort of stuff. So I think from that point of view, it deserves a spot on one of these lists. So
we've dealt with the number. So we dealt with the number two. So number two, I had the Audi RS3.
Oh, okay.
And we've dealt with your number. But I'll ask you, did you think about putting the A45 on the list or not?
It certainly, obviously, was in the original consideration. I don't think I would give it. I never had it above the RS3 for me. I think the biggest thing we didn't mention, whilst one of the things that I really like about the RS3 is it is very usable. I mean, ironically, or perhaps fittingly, given it costs so much darn money, is it's the most livable, right? And I think the thing with the A45 is it feels like a horse that's trying to bolt the whole time, right?
Yeah.
It's got so much power, it's so much performance in that engine. It doesn't want to drive slowly. It's like, why are we not going flat out? It's like, well, because I don't need to launch 0 to 100 to go to the shops. But I need to go. It's like, let's go. It's like, it just feels like it's just been reined in the whole time. And so that's why for me, I didn't have it on the list ultimately. I mean, awesome. Again, on the limit, if you're driving on a track or you're driving on a nice country road, I mean, it's a fantastic car and a brilliant engine in the way they've been able to extract so much performance from 4 cylinders. But yeah, it just feels a little bit compromised in that day-to-day use. And like you say, I mean, just it's crazy expensive for the amount of metal that you get for the money. It's hard to justify. Yeah,
you're nudging BMW M2. And different classes of car, but that's a serious proper, and probably just as usable in a way. You can still put people on the back of an M2. You've got a big boot, etc. One car that will be interesting to try will be the new S3, because it gets the new S3 in the Golf, because it gets that special diff that's in the RS3.
Yeah.
But without the 6-figure price tag. You still get a nice Audi interior. You only get the 4-cylinder, but it might be the best of both worlds. So maybe we'll have to revisit that, and we can revisit. But that means we get to number one, which I wonder if we've got the same one.
I'm curious. All right, what is your number one? We need to get a drum roll sound effect.
It's the i30N.
Yes. Okay, so this is ironic. We have matched, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So I would say I chose it because I think it's the best compromise across all the sort of the topics we talked about, right? Like across performance, practicality, price. It's kind of in that. If you had sort of, I guess, a Venn diagram, it's probably in the sweet spot. So anyway, that's why I chose it. Does that sort of line up with your
absolutely.
rationale?
So for me, it does. For me, it kind of does everything an A45 does. It's got the super aggressive 4-cylinder, works every day, still awesome on track, can handle that. But it's 55 grand, not 125 grand, which goes to that hot hatch, thing. And I've loved it ever since I had a long-termer and I drove the hell out of it for like 6 months and loved the original one. And then the update came and made it even better. And I think that's sometimes rare that they actually really improve an already good car. The engine got so much more aggressive, got the dual clutch, which is great. The manual got slicker. The price went up a bit, but we're still looking at 55 grand for a car that you can lap all day on track. It's actually built for it.
Yep.
It's fantastic on the road. Okay, it's a bit noisy and stuff like that, but it's still perfectly livable every day. So I think that how we defined a hot hatch, a car that took a normal shopping car and became a really exciting performance car for not a huge amount of money, I think that's, for me, why I got number one, because it really nails that brief.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, so similar in the sense that, again, a bit like we're talking about with Toyota, it took Hyundai a long time to really embrace hot hatches and performance cars in general. I mean, they have sort of a very questionable past with some of these cars. Try not to mention the Tiburon and the S-Coupe. But they came out when that came out. Like, so it was sub $40,000 when it first launched. I mean, it was ridiculous value for what it was. But what I like, I mean, arguably, again, one of the best things that you and I can sit here and say, hand on heart, that it will do track laps all day because we've done it. Hyundai Australia, to their credit, has built up this, amazing track day experience and effectively a little community that they've built up around the country of people that are mad for Hyundai hot hatches, which is, if you'd said that 10 years ago, you'd be like, what do you mean there's a culture of Hyundai track days? Like, that's really weird. Like, what are people driving on the track days? They're Elantras.
Hey, the Accent's a World Rally car.
Although, hey, the Excel, people do track their Excels. We've got a whole Excel racing series these days, but it's not quite the same. But, they are like, obviously we're talking about hatches here, and I think we stuck strictly to hatchbacks. The i30 Sedan N is arguably a faster, better car in the sense on a track. Like, it's got that slightly longer wheelbase. It feels a bit more planted. It's a different platform. It's an evolution of that platform. And so it's a bit more refined, potentially. But for me, even if we had included sedans on this list, I would choose the hatch because the hatch to me is more fun. It's more playful. And that, I think, is the key. And that's what I've been saying since day one with that car. I think I remember my first review on that car was fast is easy. Anyone can build a fast car. That's just kilowatts, right? Like, that's just put in a bigger turbo or a bigger capacity engine or whatever you want to do. And sort of what's impressive about the Toyota engine is it's a small engine with big performance and that sort of stuff. So, but, Hyundai could have built a fast car. There was never any question that Hyundai would build a fast car. That's not that hard, right? A fun car, a playful car, particularly that's what you want in a hot hatch, right? Is you want something that is fun and engaging and enjoyable in not going 10/10s. And again, I think a lot of the problems with modern hot hatches is you've got to be doing double the speed limit to enjoy them. And I think the i30N is probably at that level. Like you say, it's a bit noisy. It has the whole sort of snap, crackle, pop exhaust that makes it sound a bit more like a rally car and those sorts of things. So you can have some fun with it without feeling like you got to go warp factor 5. So, as
my son said to you yesterday, his favourite button in the i30N is the turbo boost button, the little on the legs pop pop pop. So what's interesting though, that one car I thought about putting on the list, which is, but it takes everything that makes N great and puts it in that A45 RS3 sphere, the Ioniq 5N. I think of any manufacturer, the people that have showed us that the next generation of EV hot hatches can actually be really enjoyable and really fun is Hyundai. So
I mean, I was toying with the idea of having that on my list. You know, is it a hatchback? Is it an SUV?
Well,
it's kind of it's a bit of a question mark. It's a bit of a toss up. I mean, I would argue it's borderline hatchback. Besides, I make the rules, so it doesn't really matter. But I think it's a fascinating car in the sense that, I mean, if you think about i30N, it's a 200 kilowatt car. The Ioniq 5N is basically double.
Yep.
You know, it's like over double. It basically takes, you know, Hyundai from hot hatch to borderline supercar levels of performance. You know, I have compared it to the GTR.
Yeah,
you know,
it is. It's the modern day R35.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of Hyundai's GTR moment where they said, we're a mainstream brand, but we're going to build something crazy. And I know, I think it's funny actually. I think they did actually have a bunch of people. Now, Hyundai probably don't love to have this promoted, but I think there were a bunch of people that initially ordered one thinking this is great, this is going to be awesome. And then when they first sampled it, I think at one of the Hyundai track days were like, on second thought, this might be too much car for me. Like,
yeah, right.
Because it is, and I don't blame them, because if you're used to a hot hatch and all of a sudden you're basically put into something that has genuine supercar levels of performance, it's intimidating as heck. Yeah. But having had the experience and driven it and experienced it, on the track and on the road, you can sort of say, look, this is it's a very impressive thing, and it's got what do they call it? The active sound and the artificial transmission.
Which everyone thinks is a gimmick until they try it. Every single person and I'll include myself in this. When you first read about it, you went, that's all inauthentic and that's no good. And then you try it and you go, works. Involving, love it.
The one thing I would say about the sound is...
the sound sucks.
They've got 3 different sounds, and I like... The one that sounds like a car is all right. The one that supposed to sound like a jet sounds like a vacuum cleaner, and the other one
no good.
Supposed to sound like a spaceship sounds like, I don't know, it doesn't sound good. But yeah, I think actually having the noise is important on an electric performance car. I think we as humans have become accustomed to sound. We need the sound to match the speed. I remember driving a Porsche Taycan the first time, and I was like, why is this corner coming up so good? Why I feel like I'm in this corner so fast? And you kind of look down and go, because I'm going really fast. I didn't realize how fast I was really traveling because I didn't have that audio like trigger. And so I think that is important. But I also think the shift does make it more enjoyable.
Yep.
You know, and look, the end of the day, and the beauty of all this stuff is turn it off. Yeah. If you don't want it, if you don't like it, turn it off.
Yep.
That's the beauty of it. And I think that's where it's not something where it's like, well, you have to drive the fake shift. Even if you don't like it, you're stuck with it. Or even if they think the sound's terrible, you're stuck with it. If you just want to drive single gear, just in silence, go for it. But, to me, I think, I will not be opposed to other brands doing that with their electric performance cars because I think it does add to it. So
I think it's already going to be in the new M cars, and I think Porsche seems to have reversed their thing as well. Their reverse stance on it. They initially came out and said it was stupid and ridiculous, but now I think, because like you say, the gears especially give you such a better reference point for how fast you're going. And that makes driving so much more fun. That's the whole thing. It makes driving more fun.
I think that's the point of these hot hatches, right? What we're talking about here is they're supposed to be fun. They're not necessarily the fastest cars in the world. They're not supposed to be the ultimate track day weapons. They are for fun.
Yep.
They are, and I think that's where the i30N, getting back to our number one now, here is, it's fun. And I think that's what Hyundai nailed. Like I say, speed is great and it is fast. I'm not saying it's slow, but it's the combination of the speed and the fun factor that makes it so good. And so, and then added to that, it's a pretty practical car. The i30 hatch is a good little car, decent sized boot, decent sized back seat for a hatchback. you could live with it. You know, you could easily live with it. You know, and for me, if I was looking at any of these cars on the list that I was actually going to buy, the i30N would be far and away the obvious choice for me, and so that's why it's number one. So,
well done, Hyundai.
Well, I think that's cool. Again, worth mentioning and highlighting is the fact that on this list we've got a bunch of Hyundais and Toyotas, which were, again, like when you and I started in this business, neither of those brands made hot hatches. Neither of those brands, frankly, made very exciting cars 15, 20 years ago. They made cheap, boring cars.
Yeah, this was pre-86. This was everything.
So, yeah, I think it's cool that they have really embraced performance, and they've done a good job at embracing performance, not just rolled the arm over and built something that's you know, a bit of a dud, like, or is just a simple or parts bin or whatever. They've built, you know, the GR Yaris and Corolla, and then the i30N, i20N. They are really just all genuinely fun cars to drive on a twisty piece of road, and to me, that's the ultimate test for any hot hatch. It should be super fun on, you know, your favorite back road somewhere. So, yeah, I think it's cool.
Very good. Go out and buy them, so we keep building them.
Long may they continue. I know they are getting more expensive, but yeah, the reality is if we don't support them, then yeah, the business case just continues to shrink, and that's it. I mean, I think the reality is the i30N is in its twilight years. I think there's very.
I think they're going to do a new one though. I think they've announced they're going to do a new one, and they're going to do a new Kona in too, apparently. So
hopefully, I think they originally, again, sort of tying in nicely to our earlier topic. I think the idea that everything would be electric from a performance brand is, you know, or you know, one of those things where they sort of overcommitted to electrification. I think they're now at a point where it's like, well, yeah, I think Honda have said, yeah, that was maybe a bit of a mistake. So hopefully, I know there's a bit of question mark around, will there be another i30N? I know the current model is due to expire in a couple more years.
Yeah.
Honda's, again, playing it a bit cagey. But yeah, if they sales drop off a cliff, then it's only going to make the world a harder place for Hyundai to justify building a new one. So hopefully for those hot hatch fans out there, we'll keep supporting them, and hopefully they will continue for a bit longer.
We can do this list in another 5 years' time.
Fingers crossed. Okay. Well, that's it. That's our say. Now, as always, we want to know what you think. Do you agree with our list? Do you not agree with our list? Are you mad that there's no Volkswagens? Are you sad that there's no Fords anymore? Let us know. Let us know what your top 5 hot hatches are in the comments or on social media. And as always, we hope you enjoyed the talk, and thanks for listening. See you next time.